Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out the most bizarre UK number ones of the 1980s, part 2. Okay, The Firm, June 1987, Star Trekkin'. Number 1 for 2 weeks.
Rare for a novelty act, The Firm were not a one-hit wonder. Formed around John O'Connor and Graham Lister, they first appeared on the UK charts in 1982, where they ascended to number 14 with Arthur Daly, He's Alright, a rapid-fire comedic tribute to the character from British TV mainstay, Minder. They even made it onto Top of the Pops. But after some flop follow-ups, they disappeared until 1987. O'Connor had been at a Civil War reenactment, and around the campfire had overheard Cavalier Rory Kehoe singing a decidedly not kayfabe parody of the traditional song The Music Man.
Pia, pia, piano, piano, the piano. Pia, pia, piano, pia, piano.
But instead of iterating different musical instruments for each new verse, he used different, poorly remembered catchphrases from sci-fi series Star Trek. Intrigued, O'Connor asked if he could release his own version. Scrapping the Music Man melody, he swapped in London Bridge is Falling Down.
It's life, Jim, but not as we know it, not as we know it, not as we know it. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it, not as we know it, Captain.
With various friends and family members taking on the roles of Uhura, Spock, Bones, Kirk, and Scotty.
You cannot change the laws of physics. Laws of physics. Laws of physics. Cannot change the laws of physics. Laws of physics, Jim.
Accelerating the melody as the song progressed.
Oh, we come in peace, shoot to kill, shoot to kill, shoot to kill. We come in peace, shoot to kill. Scotty, beam me up.
O'Connor's Californian wife adopted the role of Uhura and was deeply embarrassed by her contribution, which is now seen as one of the most mimetic parts of the song. Star Trekkin' was undeniably catchy, but they had to self-release on their own label Bark, after being rejected by everyone else.
No
the
kidding.
20 or 30 companies that we offered it to all laughed at us and said, "You must be joking.
Yeah.
We're not going to release this as a single." But I believed in it so much that I had to get it out there. So I started this little record company, released 500 copies, and it slowly picked up.
Wow.
Then suddenly it went haywire. And in 1987, it became a #1 hit in the UK, Europe, Australia, and Japan. Its puppets and stop-motion video with potato-faced crew members was forced into production due to Top of the Pops. The firm, now in their 30s, felt that their bolding presence on the national chart show would ruin the fun. After the Spitting Image team weren't able to work to their tight time frame, they went with a bunch of untested art school graduates who crunched out the video on a minimal budget in a week, completed hours before the Thursday evening deadline. Star Trekkin' was not the only sci-fi TV affiliated UK #1 of the 80s. 2 months later, T'Pau hit the top with China in Your Hand. Their unusual name taken from a character in Star Trek. While in June 1988, the KLF, in the guise of the Time Lords, got to #1 by affixing the Doctor Who theme to Rock and Roll Part 2 for Doctoring the TARDIS.
Wow, this is bizarre. That was a #1. You know, these make it look so easy, but a lot of it is chance, coincidence, serendipity, right? Some people work their entire lives to get a #1 hit, and it never happens. Ever. Some people write a joke song for fun, and they get a #1. That's the entertainment industry for you. It's brutal, right? I want to look up the lyrics for The Firm, Star Trekkin'. Star Trekkin' across the universe on the Starship Enterprise under Captain Kirk. That rhymes. Star Trekkin' across the universe, boldly going cause we can't find reverse. Nice. Lieutenant Uhura, report. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, starboard bow, starboard bow. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, Jim. Analysis, Mr. Spock. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it, not as we know it, not as we know it. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it, not as we know it, Captain. Star Trek. Medical update, Dr. McCoy. It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. Dead. Okay. Ah, we come in peace. Shoot to kill. Shoot to kill. Shoot to kill. We come in peace. Shoot to kill. Shoot to kill, man. Okay, and then the Spock part and the McCoy part. Uhura again. Then the chorus. Engine room, Mr. Scott. You cannot change the laws of physics. Laws of physics. Laws of physics. You cannot change the laws of physics. Laws of physics, Jim. Kirk, McCoy, Spock, Uhura. And then all of them say it, their thing, and then boom. And then the chorus 2 more times. Okay. I would love to see Celine Dion. I would love to see Celine Dion. I'd said it again. I would love to see Celine Dion do a cover of that song. That video got made fast. I can't believe they did all that stop motion stuff so quick. Was it a week? Billy Bragg. I've heard of Billy Bragg. And Cara Tivey? May 1988. She's Leaving Home. The Beatles song? Number 1 for 4 weeks. She's Leaving Home. Billy Bragg and Cara Tivey.
When he first appeared on most music fans' radars in 1983, amongst the maximalist new romanticism of Duran Duran and Spandau Ballet, Billy Bragg stood out. A socialist in the time of Thatcher, an imageless one-man Clash performing with only his guitar and untutored voice, a regular sight at protests and benefits. On his only other top 20 hit of the 80s, Between the Wars from March 1985, he sang of unions, the working class and austerity, the proceeds from which went to the Striking Miners Fund.
In time of austerity with sweat at the foundry between the wars.
But how did this starkly uncommercial and political act get a number 1 single 3 years later? In 1988, the NME released a charity compilation to raise funds for child counselling hotline, Childline, called Sgt. Pepper Knew My Father. It featured a dozen enemy-friendly acts, reinterpreting the songs from the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's, giving us the full tackling A Day in the Life.
Woke up, got out of bed, dragged the comb across my head.
And Sonic Youth obliterating Within You, Without You. Bragg had a go at She's Leaving Home with pianist Cara Tivey.
Quietly turning the back door key.
It fits his voice.
Outside, she's free.
It's a
To
good song
promote
choice
this
for him.
LP, they packaged Bragg's cover as a double A-side with Wet Wet Wet's sophistopop version of With a Little Help from My Friends. Though in theory an NME band, as they're named after a Scritti Politti lyric.
It's tired choking wet with tears.
The Wets' debut had spawned a trio of top 10 singles, and with their dreamy good looks, have found themselves plastered all over teenage bedroom walls. Their clout dragged Bragg to the top of the charts, and top of the pops.
Oh.
Leaving home after living alone for so many years.
There was a goal to be achieved in promoting Childline, and I think Childline is an important thing to be involved in. I feel very strongly about it. I mean, it was non-party political. I didn't feel uncomfortable about it at any point until we were on Top of the Pops. I didn't feel uncomfortable meeting Wet Wet Wet. I didn't feel uncomfortable being on an album for the NME. It wasn't until I got on Top of the Pops that I really felt very uncomfortable. I found it all a bit humiliating. The whole trivialization of pop up at that end of the market. On its first week of 4 at number 1, Bragg and Tivey played their redo of She's Leaving Home, live at Bragg's insistence.
Okay.
Wednesday morning, 5 o'clock as the day begins.
It wasn't until rehearsal that he realised he hadn't memorised the lyrics, so taped them on a sheet of paper at his feet if needed.
Okay,
When his moment
okay.
in the spotlight came, he was foiled by the show's liberal use of dry ice, obscuring his
No.
safety net.
Oh no.
Nothing in love after living alone for so many years.
Billy Bragg never had another top 10 single. Conversely, Wet 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 had one of the longest stays at number 1 in the history of the British charts.
Feel it in my finger. I feel it in my toe.
Whoa. So, Billy Bragg doing She's Leaving Home went to number 1 because it was a B-side of Wet, Wet, Wet doing With a Little Help from My Friends. I've never heard of Wet, Wet, Wet. That's bizarre. I would love to see his whole Top of the Pop performance because apparently he forgot some lyrics. That's mortifying. Yes, Billy Bragg did forget lyrics during his Top of the Pop performance. He had a crib sheet of lyrics that was obscured by dry ice, causing him to fluff his lines. He described the experience as a panic moment where he hoped for another chance to perform the song. A BBC technician helped him out by placing a ladder in a position that allowed him to see the lyrics. Oh, here's the video. I don't know, he played it off pretty well. It sounds like he just repeated some lyrics. Not too bad, Billy. Way to go. Way to cover it. I bet most people didn't even notice. Oh, Enya. Now this, I've heard this. This was big in the States. Enya, October 1988. Orinoco Flow, Sail Away, number 1 for 3 weeks. Yeah, this was big.
The singer, mononymously known as Enya, first came to the music world's attention as one of the sisters in Irish folk family band Clannad, though left just prior to their breakthrough, theme from Harry's Game in 1982. After an ultimatum over a family member's alleged alcohol dependency, Enya left to collaborate with the group's former manager, Nicky Ryan, and his wife, Roma. Together, they would form the creative core of Enya's music. Nicky producing, Roma writing lyrics, and Enya supplying the music and melodies. Initially, they found success with more soundtrack work. The first Enya projects were for the full-length feature, The Frog Prince, and the 1987 BBC series, The Celts.
They definitely had a sound, didn't they?
While the songs were a beautiful mix of traditional and alien, it was the production that made them shine. Based on the work of Phil Spector and Brian Wilson, Nicky wove a lush mix of synthetic textures and reverbed walls of Enya harmonies. Nicky had this idea for years and years of using the voice as an instrument, not just layering string parts, but he knew I had a great love of harmony, and he said, what would it be like to have the same voice? What would evolve? The only way to know would be to actually record it. Critics weren't sold, not least because it was impossible to clearly categorize. Close but not quite the art pop of Kate Bush and Cocteau Twins, the electronic soundtracks of Tangerine Dream and Vangelis, and a step beyond the Celtic tradition of Clannad. But head of Warner Records Europe, Rob Dickens, was enraptured and signed the project, less because he felt they would sell, but because he wanted to hear more. When I signed Enya, her manager-producer Nicky Ryan said, "You're not going to push us for singles, are you? It wasn't that kind of music." After we'd made the Watermark album, I said as a joke, "Nicky, where's the single?" A week later, Nicky rang up and said, "We've got it." Got what? We've got the single.
Whoa.
Orinoco Flow was not complete when first revealed to Dickens. It lacked a middle eight and its lyrics needed to be fleshed out. But there was something about this propellant, shimmering instrumentation, the stacks of glistening vocals, that might work on radio. Though elsewhere she would sing in Gaelic, Latin, Welsh, Elvish, and the invented Loxian language, here Enya emotes in English, a journey across the ocean, its chorus being most distinguishable. So hard to make out, Dickens didn't realise he was shouted out until it started getting played on Radio 1. It was so remarkably different that listeners couldn't help but buy in, and Orinoco Flow hit number 1 in October 1988.
Wow.
Since then, Enya has never toured, rarely played live, and yet has sold 75 million albums worldwide. She has released 8 albums in almost 40 years, records only when her muse hits her. Meanwhile is one of Europe's richest musicians, living in an actual castle in South Dublin,
Wow.
and is very much living her best life.
Good for her. Wow. Wow. 75 million copies. She just makes music when she wants to. I envy Enya. I thought Enya was a group and not a person. But it's a person. Yeah, when I hear that song, it takes me right back to 1988. There's something about it that really is of the time. The way it sounds, all that reverb, and it's really clean. I would say that's, of all the songs we've heard so far, that's the least bizarre one. It is bizarre, but of these, it's the least bizarre. What are the lyrics to that Enya song? Sail away, sail away, sail away. Sail away, sail away, sail away. All that again. No wonder people think it's called Sail Away. From Bissau to Palau in the shade of Avalon, from Fiji to Tyre and the Isles of Ebony, from Peru to Cebu, hear the power of Babylon, from Bali to Cali, far beneath the Coral Sea. Turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, a do ooh ooh. Turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, a do ooh ooh. Again, sail away again. From the north to the south, Ebude unto Khartoum. From the deep sea of clouds to the island of the moon. Carry me on the waves to the lands I've never been. Then that again. We can sail with the Orinoco flow. We can sail, blah, 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 blah. We can steer, we can near with Rob Dickens at the wheel. Way to go, Rob. We can sigh, say goodbye, Ross and his dependency. I think they outed Ross, whoever Ross is, his chemical dependency. Sail away, sail away, sail away. We can reach, we can beach on the shores of Tripoli. We can sail from Bali to... Okay. Then some of it repeats. We can blah, blah, blah. Far beyond the ocean, blah, 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 blah. And then, okay. They repeat. Okay. It's about taking our cruise. Take that cruise, Enya. It sounds so mystical, mysterious. But it's about taking a cruise. It's a Disney Cruise Line ad. Okay, Jive Bunny and the Mixmasters, August 1989, Swing the Mood, #1 for 5 weeks.
By the end of the 1980s...
That sounded familiar. 50s nostalgia was in full effect. Yes, it was. I remember that.
50s nostalgia was in full effect. The silent generation were looking back and buying back their youth. The first gasps of rock and roll were in conversation again, due to Back to the Future and the chart success of Reet Petite, and the Elvis referencing Shakin' Stevens. Even Cliff Richard's Living Doll had become a #1 twice over, with the help of the young ones. And it was in this climate that Jive Bunny and the Master Mixers appeared.
I remember this. Yeah.
Music Factory was a Yorkshire-based DJ service owned by John Pickles and his son, Andy. Their main product was a subscription service that supplied wedding and events DJs with party mega mixes, mixtapes with current hits and classics, with all the transitions and effects already in place. One of these mixes, compiled by Doncaster DJ Les Hemstock, was getting a particularly great reaction. Swing the Mood was a medley of early rock and roll singles, Bill Haley, Little Richard and Elvis. Stitched together with In the Mood by Glenn Miller, an incongruous big band hit from 15 years before rock and roll. John decided why not release it as a single. Maybe it'd go top 40. Hemstock and Andy then spent several weeks resplicing the track together to a drum machine beat, while sourcing less financially crippling recordings, and hiring an Elvis impersonator for commercial release. The track was then released under the moniker Jive Bunny, with a music video consisting of post-war footage, with the occasional animated appearance of a cartoon rabbit. It was the most barefaced, obvious attempt at reselling the past in 80s pop, despised by teenagers and 20-somethings, that sold boatloads to their target market. Kids hooked onto it because it was a cartoon rabbit. The drunken populace viewed it as a party record, and mums and dads remembered the old tunes. People said we just stuck records together, but we were splicing tapes with scissors, creating the first mashups.
Wow.
Jive Bunny's first 3 singles ended up topping the charts. Swing the Mood in August 1989, The Rock and Roll Meets Hawaii 5-0 of That's What I Like in October, and the Christmas-themed glam of Let's Party in December.
Let's party!
I think I've heard that.
A feat only previously achieved by Jerry and the Pacemakers and Frankie Goes to Hollywood. By their 4th single, the gimmick had tired itself out. March 1990's That Sounds Good to Me, reaching only number 4.
Get your dancing shoes on and welcome to the rock and roll dance party.
I don't... that Jive Bunny creeps me out. I don't like the way he moves. Something unnatural about it. Yeah, I think he's fake. I don't think he's a real bunny. I mean, that's brilliant because to make a mix of all these songs to be played at a wedding is really smart. Because that's the kind of stuff you hear at a wedding. That's what they do. But this way you don't gotta mix it at the wedding. Just play the CD or the cassette or the record. And I was wondering how they got the vocals from the original recordings. They mentioned that they had an Elvis impersonator do the Elvis parts. But I wonder if they got a Little Richard impersonator too, because that sounded like a clean vocal, you know? No instruments married to it. That's what it sounded like. Jive Bunny, the album, was in the US charts for 26 weeks. In the UK charts for 2 weeks. In the US charts for 26 weeks. That's 6 months, I think. Isn't it? Wow. Probably some payola stuff going on there, because I can't imagine that that would be that popular. Maybe it was. Maybe that's how I heard it. Yeah, that's probably why I heard it.
That felt like a bit of a conspiracy.
Huh.
I don't think they wanted a rabbit to have the record for the first 4 singles going to number 1. Let's Party by Jive Bunny and the Master Mixes was one of the last number 1s of the 80s. But it wasn't at all representative of what we think of when we think of the decade. The 80s was a time of musical innovation, of excess, of charity, and an MTV-fueled focus on image. A decade of synth pop, new romanticism, hair metal, hip-hop, and acid house. But at its most bizarre, it was a decade that reveled in novelty, nostalgia, and stop-motion music videos. There are some recurring themes that play out in these songs. Record companies not getting it, the fading power of the radio DJ, and the continued impact of television. But more than anything, they all convinced the British public to buy, making them all, for a week or 4, the biggest song in the country.
Wow, yeah, I remember that Jive Bunny song. I think that Jive Bunny song was an introduction to 50s music for me. My dad used to listen to a lot of 50s music, because that's what was popular when he was a little kid, and I think it had nostalgia for him. So he was definitely part of that 50s nostalgia in the 80s. Wow, these are really bizarre. This is weird.
Thanks for watching. So what other bizarre 80s number 1s do you think I missed? Comment down below. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and why don't you also share it with a couple of people? It really does help.
I think in my mind, most number 1s in the 80s were bizarre. It was a bizarre decade. Let's recap. Before my computer runs out of battery, the MASH theme song. Yeah, bizarre. Shut up your face. Bizarre. That weird ballad, Save Your Love. This shut up your face guy looks like if James Taylor and Keith Richards had a child. 19. Somber. Every Loser Wins. Yeah, what was that about? No. Reed Petite. Congrats to Jackie Wilson. He had another hit. The Firm. Star Trekkin'. Yeah, that's bizarre. Billy Bragg and his memory lapse. Hey, Billy, We got you a gig on Top of the Pops. Don't worry about memorizing the lyrics. We'll have a sheet of paper on the floor for you. Also dry ice. Enya, the least bizarre of them all. And then the bunny guy. The what was it called? Jive bunny. Right. Wow. Really bizarre. I only heard a few of these back in the day. Y'all be sure to go to Trash Theory and like and subscribe. I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank y'all for watching this with me. If you made it this far in the video, maybe give me a like and subscribe. Thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see you next time. Later.